Good evening. Welcome back to the Horror and Metal channel. I already did my top 10 favorite metal vocalists. I did my top 10 favorite metal guitarists, so I figured I'd go ahead and list my top 10 favorite metal bassists. Yeah, why not, right? So, yeah. My top 10 favorite metal bass players. Let's go and get started. Number 10 is going to be none other than Dee Dee Verney from Overkill. And like I always do, I'm going to just show my favorite album that said musician performed on. Yeah, I love Dee Dee Verney's groovy bass lines. And I think that along with Bobby Blitz's vocals, Dee Dee Verney is my favorite part of this awesome thrash metal band. Yeah, Dee Dee Verney from Overkill, my 10th favorite metal bassist. Number 9, Ian Hill from Judas Priest. I actually think he's kind of underrated. He's a very popular, he's in a very popular metal band, but you don't really hear him talked about quite as much. I think he's overshadowed by, vocalist Rob Halford and, guitarist Glenn Tipton and KK Downing, and then later Richie Faulkner and Andy Sneap. When I saw them live a few months ago, he was kind of like just in the corner, kind of in the dark. He didn't move around a lot. He was kind of like he was hiding. Maybe he doesn't want the recognition, but I'm going to give it to him anyway, because Ian Hill is an awesome bass player, very underrated, from Judas Priest. Alright, number 8, none other than Lemmy from Motorhead. Yeah, great bass player, and his vocals fit the dirty rock and roll sound that Motorhead has. Yeah, he's one of my heroes too, one of my idols. Rest in peace. Yeah, the world of metal will never be the same without Lemmy. Fantastic bass player and songwriter and vocalist, just a genuinely all-around really cool guy. Would have loved to have met him. Yeah, Lemmy from Motorhead. Rest in peace. My 8th favorite bassist of all time. Number 7, David Ellefson from Megadeth, who's sadly no longer in the band. Yeah, some kind of weird controversy happened. I'm not really sure what exactly went down. I got a little bit of the story, but I kind of stay out of like celebrities' personal lives, all the drama and stuff. It's just not really, doesn't really, it's none of my business, so I'm not really sure what happened. But anyway, he's not in the band anymore, but he's been on most of their albums, all their best albums. Aside from Dave Mustaine, he's the longest recurring member. So yeah, bassist David Ellefson, my 7th favorite metal bassist of all time, from Megadeth. I'm going to be seeing them live next month. Or actually, no, later this month. It's the 1st, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to be seeing them on the 10th. But David Ellefson's not going to be there, unfortunately. But they do have James Lomenzo. He's a great bassist in his own right. All right, what do we want now? 6. Number 6, my 6th favorite metal bassist is Frank Bello from Anthrax. Yeah, I guess Spreading the Disease is probably my favorite album by them. And this was the first album to feature bassist Frank Bello, along with Joey Belladonna. Yeah, he's kind of underrated too. You don't hear him talked about a whole lot, but there's no denying that he's got some serious skills on the 4 strings. Yes, Frank Bello from Anthrax. Fantastic bassist. And number 5 is going to be my favorite death metal bass player of all time, Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse. Oh my gosh, the sheer amount of talent this guy has is tremendous. He's very humble and very modest about it too. I've seen him in interviews. He's like, "Oh, I'm not that great." BS. Yes, you are. You are amazing. Yeah. He's one of the main songwriters too, and one of the founders of the band. Yeah, there's no denying that Alex Webster is a huge part of what makes Cannibal Corpse so amazing. His especially that bass line at the beginning of Hammer Smash Face. Oh man, it just gives me chills every time. Yeah, great bass player. Alex Webster from Cannibal Corpse, my 5th favorite metal bassist. All right, as for my 4th favorite, it's going to be a man who's been in so many bands. This guy has a really impressive resume. He's been on so many different albums. Sometimes it's just a session member, just making a guest appearance. But it's going to be none other than Steve DiGiorgio, who's a virtuoso on the bass. He's just like, oh man, his skill is just breathtaking, just tremendous in every way. You can usually hear his bass too. It's usually very audible in bands that he plays with, which is great. He was he's played in so many different bands. I saw him live when he played with Testament. He's still with Testament. And probably my favorite album by Testament that he was on is The Gathering, which is a very underrated album. Unfortunately, Alex Skolnick, who's my favorite thrash metal guitarist, didn't play on this album. There's like 3 albums that he wasn't on. But other than that, it's very underrated. This is an awesome album. I love the songs Eyes of Wrath, True Believer, and 3 Days in Darkness. Those are just phenomenal songs. And Steve Giorgio is a huge reason why, yeah. Him and Gene Hoglan, by the way, make up a really great rhythm section. They played together in Testament and Death. And yeah, Gene Hoglan's a virtuoso as well on the drums. Yeah, drummer Gene Hoglan and Steve Giorgio made quite a pair. And of course, Steve Giorgio was also in Death, and this is my favorite performance of his, Human by Death. Yeah, one of my other favorite death metal bands. And probably what's considered his main band, Sadis. Yeah, very underrated thrash metal band. Yeah, there he is right there. Steve DiGiorgio, a true virtuoso. Yeah, one of the best bass players ever. He's also played for... well, he's played for every band ever. There you go. Let's put it that way. And he's also a session member on Severed Survival by Autopsy and Horror Show by Iced Earth, just to name a few. So yeah, I've got a lot of albums with him on it, but I just want to name like 5 or so. So let's go ahead and move on. Steve Giorgio, my 4th favorite metal bassist. Number 3, of course, is going to be one of the godfathers of heavy metal, Geezer Butler, whose thundering bass lines are the backbone of Sabbath. And yes, Master Reality, of course, is my favorite Sabbath album, like I've said 1,000 times on this channel already. Yeah. Without Geezer Butler, their main heavy metal as we know today would be very different. May not even exist, quite possibly. Yeah, he actually started out playing guitar, and then he took off. Tony Iommi didn't want to work with another guitarist, so Geezer took off 2 of the strings of his guitar and then down-tuned it so it sounded like a bass, you know, initially. He's got wild stage energy, too. I saw them live, and he was just all over the place on that thing. Like, why? He makes it look easy. Yeah, Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, my 3rd favorite metal bassist. Yeah, and number 2 has got to be Cliff Burton from Metallica, rest in peace. He was only on their first 3 albums, and yeah, the sheer amount of talent is just phenomenal. I mean, they moved a very long way just to get him on bass. That's pretty bold for, you know, for a bass player. That's awesome. He kind of played it like a lead guitar. There's no denying that the man just had way too much talent for his own good. Yeah, and a lot of people say, oh, he's only popular because he's dead. BS. Get out of here with that. The guy was insanely skilled. Cliff Burton from Metallica. He co-wrote some of my favorite songs, too, and he was just a beast. An absolute beast on those 4 strings. I would love to have a bass player like him in my band. Cliff Burton from Metallica, my 2nd favorite metal bassist. Rest in peace. Alright, for honorable mentions, I'll leave them in the description box below. So be sure to check that out. Yes, check the description for honorable mentions. My number 1 favorite heavy metal bass player has got to be Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. The man is a legend. He's one of their main songwriters too, and they're one of their founding members. He's the sole surviving member from the very inception of the band, at the very beginning all the way till now. There's no denying that when it comes to his bass playing, it's just immaculate. Yeah. Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. I'll be seeing them live in next month in October. I can't wait. I can't wait to see him play bass. I can't wait to see the whole band. It's going to be amazing. I hope they play a lot of songs from this album. They might not, but oh well. It'll still be awesome seeing Maiden. And Steve Harris is my favorite heavy metal bassist of all time. Up the irons. Alright guys, once again, check the description for some honorable mentions. Leave your choices in the comments below. As always, I'm Hellhound. Thank you for watching the Horror and Metal channel. Till next time. Later.